Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, born and dead, saved by love, count my blessing from above. Though in darkness, have no fear. Light will shine on those holding near. They know that sorrow they will pass. For I know in this life there will be something. But remember that love, yes it will. Love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Yeah. In my heart, I believe it. Love will reign. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have a vision. It's clear and plain. People living life, smiling again. Oh, see the children, they know no pain. Far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain, but remember that love, yes it will. I know, yeah, love will reign. Gotta believe it. In my heart, I truly believe sun will shine again, and love, I can hardly wait. We'll all be together. There'll be peace, peace, sweet peace, happiness and joy. Oh, yeah. One day, someday, pain will be over and love will reign. They won't last, for I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. In the end, love will reign. Love will reign. Said in His word, weeping may endure the night. Love will conquer all. Love will win the fight. Don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. Darkest hour sets before the light. Hate will be gone, fear will be gone, love will remain and go on and on. Though the road seems
I mean,
tough,
you know,
my
definitely I
friend,
would go
we
after
know how to
my
turn
child. I think that
it. Oh,
whenever as a parent you can't put your hands on your kid, there is a problem. You know, you can't call. I moved out of town for a couple of months, and I thought that being away from my son, I pick up the phone and call him or FaceTime. It's just not the same. So yeah, I'll probably be a little crazy if that was to happen. But the spouse part, I don't even know. I mean, that's a little much. You taking the kid? That's way too much for me, honey.
You know, I don't want it to sound, but sometimes like oh, women use kids as pawns
Yes.
to hurt spouses, ex-husbands, and significant others.
Mm-hmm.
I think fathers do the same, but it just seems it's more prevalent among women
to
to use children
in that
in
regard.
that regard.
Definitely, definitely. I definitely have stories of my son's mother, um, because I think that women have in their mind what a relationship is going to be, and then when it doesn't turn out to be what they think it's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
the problem. They want you to suffer like they're suffering emotionally. Um, and it hurts the kid. But I used to say, well, I would tell my son, when your mama lets you come over. But it hurt the adult too. You know what I'm saying? It hurted me. I just didn't let her know that. But of course, that when you use a kid, and that's really the only attachment that you have left out of that relationship that didn't work out is a child. And women definitely will use a kid as a pawn. They won't do anything to hurt you, to get back at you. I mean, even growing up, my mother always compared me to my father. If I did something because my father hurt her, she would say, "You just like your daddy." Um, and I'll be 44, and she still will say the same thing because she's scarred. Some people never get over hurt. That's why I think that counseling and all that type of stuff is so important, because people never get over the traumas of life. And life is not a cakewalk. It's going to be some bumps and bruises. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yes,
Yes,
it's tough.
it's tough. I can only imagine being in a situation where
My spouse
my
is
spouse is
taking
taking
a child
a child
to
to
another
another country
because that's
Hmm.
another jurisdiction.
Hmm.
Um,
in this
in
case,
this case,
there's
there's
kind of a
kind of a
by
by
country
country
kind of
kind of
counsel
counsel or
or
review
review
that
to handle
handle
these
these
type
type
of
of
matters,
matters,
but you
but
really
you really
don't
don't
have an
have an
upper hand
upper hand
because
because
you
you
don't
understand
understand
the
the customs
customs
of
of that
that council
council
or
or
court.
court.
Right.
And so in his
So in
case,
his
he
case,
went
it's
back and forth and back
from
and
back
forth. On many
on many
occasions,
occasions,
Michael, he didn't
he
get to
didn't
see
get to
the
see the
children
children
that he was
that he was
fighting
fighting
for
for
almost 3
almost 3
years.
years.
Yeah. I mean, but see, you're fighting not only for the child, but you're fighting for yourself as well. Um, you can't give up. Um, I did some. I mean, I think anybody young having a kid, you do some things that's not good parenting wise. But my goal was, because my father was not what I wanted him to be. I wanted to be that for my son. Um, and so his mother would, we went to court, and you have to have the child at my house at 8 o'clock. If it's 8:01, I'm gonna call the police. I went through all of that, and I tell young guys that that's when you got to be careful who you have a baby with, because there's some consequences to come along with having a baby mama. There's a lot of consequences to come along. It's not, I have been at parties, and she's like, well, I'm gonna bring the baby to you, knowing, oh, I'm at work. Well, I'm just gonna send him at your job. I mean, and thank God it's not like that anymore. But that's what you have to go through. You know what I'm saying? Because of a fair relationship.
Mhm.
And in this
And in
instance,
this
I don't
instance,
know the part of the story, but
story, but
he was
he was
unfaithful
unfaithful,
Hmm.
and then
and then kind of as opinion,
she became
became
and
forgetful and unfaithful.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I'm unfaithful, that don't make me a bad father. This just make me a bad
yeah.
husband or boyfriend or whatever I am. I'm still gonna be a great father and be a terrible mate.
All right, thank
All
you,
right,
Mike
thank you,
Will. I
Mike.
appreciate
I
you very
appreciate
much.
you very much.
All right, sir.
All right.
All right.
What you wear says something about you, about who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. So here in the Love and Stuff community, we wear the brand that we live, and we live the brand that we wear because we love the brand. It's all about increasing the amount of love in the world and upping our love game. And if that's what you're about, you should wear it too.
That was Michael Kemp. He is a entrepreneur here in the Metro Detroit area. And if ever your family is in the need of care services during a very sensitive time around transition of a loved one, you might seek the services of McFawn Brothers, the new McFawn Brothers Funeral Home. Thank you, Michael Kemp. Tamiko Miko McMillan has joined us. Thank you so much. Hurt people hurt people. That's so true. All right, so I still don't see Modeira. And so we'll have to definitely have a part 2 to have Modeira tell from his own words his story of, really, it's a story of agony. Oh, okay. The show must go on. I just got a note. So I'm gonna, yes. Modeira's coming on finally to share. And we may have to do some editing at the future to make this a podcast. How many of you enjoy Love and Stuff that are still here? Give me some likes or loves. And how many of you have followed our page? Because we're on the road to 20,000 followers. Thank you so much. I see 1 love. I see 2 loves. I see 3 loves, 4 loves. I'm going to count these bad boys. Just 4 loves? Oh, no. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Do you love the content enough to share it? Oh, I'm so grateful. Modeira's made it. Do you love the content enough to share it with others? Give me some loves. Do you love the content enough to go to our page and click follow? Do you love it enough to purchase some Love and Stuff gear? I know you do, Marilyn Hamilton Nelson. You're one of our Love and Stuff, what we call top fans. Sonia Sharice, you're one of our top fans. But we need more of you going to our page. Some of you haven't clicked follow. You will know that you haven't followed us if I'm at the page and I have to tag you in a post that I include you in. That means you haven't clicked follow. Because if you click follow, I can type your name and it'll automatically come up on the page. So I'm giving shouts outs on birthdays, and some of you I have to type your name because I can't tag you in it because you're not a follower. This community is for you. And so we need you following us. Jerome Rutledge has joined us. Okay. Now, Modeira, you're in the room, so I'm trying to get you. You got to answer it. You got to make sure your phone is on landscape so that you can be on the camera. Okay. Now, at this time, it says you declined. Jerome Rutledge has joined us. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Okay. And Modeira, okay, I'm trying to add you again. We're going to have to do a part 2. A special edition. Okay, Modeira, you got to hit the button. It's there. You got to hit the button. Evelyn Graham has joined us. Wow, thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. It's been a while since you've been with us. Okay, Modeira, did you go out and come back in? Noah Bibb has joined us. Thanks, sir, for coming to Love and Stuff. Chantel Jackson, thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. Modeira is with us in a moment. Yes, Lynn, we are so grateful for having you in our community and your story of survival. I'm still getting inboxes. Okay, make sure your phone is on landscape. There you go.
There you go. Okay. Now it looks like it's working.
Yeah, a little bit of
feedback. I don't know what was happening, man.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Just had a few technical difficulties here. Unfortunately, I'm just not getting on, but thank you guys for your patience. You kind of sit a little different here. Okay, so here we go. All right. So I'll kind of cover your story, but there's nothing like you tell us the story. Okay.
How young were you when you got married?
I got married at 23. I was too young. That's just my opinion.
How young was your wife?
She was 21. And I don't know how long had you all dated? Oh, man, 6 months. And I would not advise this for anyone.
Okay. And how long into the marriage was it before you began having problems?
I would say notable problems probably about after between maybe 3 to 5 months, maybe. I would say 3 to 5, but those were more so expectations. You know, we're both young, didn't know what we were doing. We just, I guess, on fire for Jesus, just wanted to give each other something we didn't have, which was unity, acceptance, and family. So as I've gotten older, have gone through that, it seems like pretty much we were dating each other based on our deficiencies as opposed to our efficiencies. And a lot of times we say, you know, we're going to leave it in the Lord's hand. The Lord is going to work it out. That's just not the way it works. And I'm not knocking people who have been married for 30, 40 years, have gotten married in their early 20s, such as me and my ex-wife. But I would just say it's just something that I would not advise. I'm not going to say don't do it. I just advise that take you some time, get you some age, learn, walk with God, learn some things about yourself, learn to love yourself. There's some things about you that needs to be healed before you start dealing in a relationship, because that relationship or that marriage is going to pull out all of the deficiencies that need to be worked on. And sometimes those deficiencies are so deep rooted that you don't even have a concept of self-love. So what you think is love for the other person is just, I love the fact that they've accepted me, but not so much that I love this person because I truly love me first. And I mean, we can dig into that a little bit deeper later on, but this is your show, brother. So I'm going to let you ask the questions and I'll answer accordingly.
So you had cheated on your spouse during the marriage, and that resulted in a fight, right?
Yes, it did.
And did you ever think that she would cheat on you?
I figured at some point she stuck around. It was just a matter of maybe, maybe not. I mean, I didn't think at the time her character would preclude her to do something like that. If you forgive someone, you don't go out for revenge. That's not forgiveness. That's like, okay, I'm hurt now. You got me against the ropes, but when my time comes, I'm gonna do what I do. But I'm not excusing the cheating that I've done. But let me explain to you why that happened. What had happened is that I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and she felt that because I didn't come home and wash the dishes, that she wasn't going to have sex with me. Now, you withholding your body, you're supposed to be a Bible-believing Christian. It says, you know, withhold not yourselves except for fasting and praying. And in this case, it was just a matter of, Negro, you going to do them dishes. I'm working at the plant. I was working for Ford Motor Company. I mean, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have to be there at 2:30 to start my shift at 3. I get off at 3:30. It takes at least an hour and 15 minutes to get home. I would come home, fall asleep, man, for about 30 minutes, wake up in a panic thinking I'm late for work because I worked so much in the doggone plant. But at the end of the day, she felt that because she did not, I didn't wash dishes,
She was going to withhold sex. I even bought a portable rollaway dishwasher. She was homeschooling our two older boys. And I told her, listen, have him set up the dishwasher. You guys set up the dishwasher. I'm working. And I was the only one working. So after a while, 2 months, 3 months go by, and, I'm a young man. It is what it is, man. No matter how much begging I've done, it wasn't going to happen unless I did the dishes. I come home, I fall asleep, I'm tired. Sometimes I'll sleep 5 hours, and I have to get back up at 1 o'clock in the morning and hit the road by 2 to get to work by 2:30. I had no life. And the one thing, that one intimate thing that we had outside of conversation, which he pretty much cut off, was our sexual intimacy. So when you hold that from me, what do you expect me to do as a human, and especially a young man who may have known better but did not really know how to control himself as related to you withholding this very natural thing from me that should have been reserved for marriage, and now that we married, you don't want to do it because I'm not washing dishes? Yeah.
And so how did she find out that you had cheated?
Oh, I had a heifer call. I'm sorry, brother. The young woman called. She felt that after the child had to be at least, by this time, maybe 11, 13 years old, she didn't know who the father of the child was. So at that time, her thing was that she thought it was the dude she was with, and then she thought it was the dude in between her and another guy she was with. And then when all of them tested not to be the father, I happen to be the father. It's not to bash her, but this is what happens in these situations, and you don't know who the father is. If you are being trifling, I'm not excusing myself from this either, but if you are being trifling and you out here, you have an unprotected sex with multiple men, and then you get pregnant and you don't know who the child's father is, that's, I'm not going to say it's just your fault alone. It's the fault of you and the other person you lay down with, in this case, myself. But I don't think the right thing for her to do was to call my then wife and say, hey, you need to know what time it is. We got a child together, and my child need to know who her brothers and sisters are. It doesn't work that way. And in the end, she still didn't get what she thought she wanted. And I'm speaking of the young lady that I had the affair with. So,
then your wife called you.
Oh, God. And she called me. And to the listening audience, please don't take my laughter as I'm justifying anything I did or I'm making light of my actions. I'm laughing because you don't understand what happened several years after that when my children were kidnapped from me for reasons that had nothing to do with an affair. This is a totally different story. But I laughed because what I thought was seemingly impossible, God did the possible for me. So when the young lady called, my ex-wife answered the phone. She called me. I was at work, and something told me, this is your wife's number. Don't answer on speaker. Just pick the phone up. Man, I answered that phone on speaker, and she just went off. She was loud. Everybody in the office heard what happened. So, man, it wasn't anything that I could do. At that point, it was just like, okay, I'm busted. Hey, let's talk about this. So she went over to the young lady's house. She got pictures of the child. She wanted to see the child for herself to make sure that it was indeed her husband's child. So that's what happened after that phone call. We went to counseling a couple years later after that. She said she's forgiven me, all this other good stuff. But then my wife at that time decided, maybe about 2 years later, that she engaged in an affair with a young man at her job. Not at her job, but at school. And after I called her at the dude's house, I spoke to her and was like, listen, what you're doing is revenge. You're not going to benefit from this. You're not going to like it. At some point, you're going to hate it. But she said in our counseling session that she was not sorry. She didn't care how I felt. And I get it. She had every right to be mad. But like the counselor told us, ma'am, if you have forgiven him for what he's done, then why would you go out and avenge this by doing the same thing? And not be sorry or be remorseful about it. It's just like, what were you thinking? And she wasn't.
And Modeira, turn your volume down a little bit. My card is echo.
Turn it down.
Okay. That's okay.
Okay, is that a little better?
I hope so.
Okay.
Slightly.
Okay, hold on. Let me. I'm kind of new at this thing with this. Okay, is this better? Is this a little better here?
Let's see.
Still the echo.
Still the echo.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this?
Okay. So
you mentioned in
you
your
mentioned in your
one of your YouTube
videos, you mentioned that
you kind of did
some snooping,
and you found some things in Yahoo, some things in the closet. So there were some signs that something was happening.
Spending more time away from the house.
Absolutely. Well, here was the biggest sign. The biggest sign is that it started with time. I tell people, Scripture tells us, husbands dwell with your wives according to knowledge. And the biggest problem that most men have, they really don't know their wife. They don't know what makes them tick. They don't know what makes them happy. They pretty much know what ticks them off, because a lot of times women will complain about what they don't like. But when men don't take time to discern who their wife is by dwelling with them, they have no idea of their patterns. So I recognized her patterns. She would leave to go to work at 4:30 in the morning. But then from work, she goes straight to school for these meetings. And then after the meetings, it's like you don't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning, and you got to leave out and go back to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, at some point, I'm like, do I still have a wife anymore? So when I started looking at those things, she didn't seem too concerned about it. So again, I looked at all of her past behaviors and her patterns, and I was able to weigh that against that. And that's when I realized, like, wait a minute, something's not right here. Then it's like she would wear certain clothes, wear new clothes. And then I always did the laundry. So I'm finding underwear, that were pretty, sexy and intimate like. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. These drawers got lint balls on them. When did you get these underwear? I've been had them. You don't pay attention to me. I'm like, no, honey, I know your drawers because I buy most of them. She wasn't working. I was, until she started working. So all of the lingerie that she had is what I bought. I've seen that. But the new stuff, that's when I knew. So from there, I was looking at some web pages. And I know most of y'all probably know, if you clear your web browsing history, then that person won't know. But I've been a computer systems engineer for 25 years. We can still find out if you're savvy enough. However, I didn't have to go too far. I saw that she was looking at some Yahoo personals. I saw like 5, maybe 10 or 12 dudes that she was talking to. And I just figured, that's just revenge. You just mad, you upset. I ain't worried about that. But then I started feeling deep in the inside. Most people say that's your spirit man talking to you, discernment, your energy, or the universe talking to you, whatever you want to call it. It's truth. So as truth was telling me, hey, check this out. You're not home. You don't want as much sex. Then when you try to have sex, you want a whole bunch of it, and you're going real wild with it. And I mean, everything was changing. And I'm just like, hold on. So I Googled, the signs of a cheating spouse. And that's when I found, out of 39 things, these 39 things that talks about the signs of a cheating spouse, she hit at least 34 of them. And I was just like, come on. So when I presented it to her, she, like most people, when you're guilty, she was like, oh, I'm true till death. I don't cheat on nobody. That old Matlock BS you doing, you ain't got nothing on me. Okay. So I just acted like wasn't nothing to it. Stuck with my intuition. I stuck with my instinct, man. I did not give up on it. She created a new email account. I just stumbled across it. I mean, when you do right, I don't care what wrong you do, but when you turn and you start doing right, God gonna show you what's up. I mean, it is what it is. So if you think that somebody cheated on you and you gonna go back and do bad on them, especially your spouse, that's a covenant relationship. God is obligated to reveal to your spouse what you doing, because that's your covenant. And we'll talk about that later. However, so he showed me that this was her new email account. I happened to guess her password. She was so vain. She created a password that talked about her, so it was real easy to crack. And once I got inside the email account, man, I saw it all. I saw, the affairs. I saw, couldn't wait to see you. So glad I saw you. Be prepared to hose me down when you see me. I mean, everything. The portable stripper pole and in the closet. I'm just like, man, listen, I'm not ashamed. I've never been to a topless bar. I've never been to one of them pole dancing clubs. None of that stuff. So when I told her, that doesn't turn me on. You know, so when she had this pole, I'm like, who did you get this for? Because this ain't for me. So there were signs. And I think we all see the signs, we just ignore it for the sake of convenience of wanting to keep something rather than confronting it, getting the truth out of it, dealing with it honestly, and then moving forward.
Yeah.
And so because she didn't do those things, that's why I was able to just, I thank God for it. He just let me know everything. And when I confirmed it, I mean, it is what it is. She was embarrassed, but then she just got real ballsy about it and was like, you know, I don't care that I got caught. So what? Yeah.
I want to double back.
To the day that you talked about when you had the motorcycle accident.
Okay.
And then I want to talk.
And then I want to talk a little bit about during
But let me just catch up with some of the folks. There's Durant is here.
Tim Walker Lloyd,
Evelyn Grant. Gaskin.
Norwood,
Calvin Jackson. Kevin Stewart. Wanda Clinton. Anthony Howard. Oh, Shanice Ford. Okay, so you got to a place where you were kind of fed up.
Well, at that, can you hear me, brother?
I can't.
Okay, great. So what happened was the motorcycle accident happened about a little over a month and a half after she took off with the kids. You know, I felt that I was a great dad to my kids. You know, I loved them. They loved me. You know, I would wake up every morning. You know, I made sure they ate breakfast. I got them dressed the night before. I ironed their clothes out. I would sacrifice taking a lunch at work so I could leave work early to pick them up from school, to bring them home, put them in play clothes, start dinner, and pretty much bring them in, do homework, and feed them. You know, and this was while their mom was doing her thing. Even before she started doing her thing, I did all of these things. I just felt that as a father, it was just my right, my duty to just be in the lives of my kid, to let them know, Daddy loves you and I'm here for you no matter what. So after she took off with the kids, I just felt that, you know, I'm like, you know, I've served as a youth pastor, served as an associate minister, done all this stuff, even with all the bad stuff.
You said she took off
with the kids.
Right.
What happened?
That was after, because I want to get into that motorcycle story for you, but I'll go ahead and touch bases on this. What had happened is that a year after that, in 2008, we were trying to reconcile it. You know, I was still hurt by what had happened because I felt at this point I couldn't trust her. It had been more than a year since the discovery of the affair and that I found out that she was still with this guy. I mean, I could see if it was 3, 4, 5 different guys, that's revenge. But when it's the same dude, that is an affair. And I am not going to compete over my wife's heart with another dude. At that point, I had to draw the line. We were looking for a new house. And I sat on the stairs of the house and I just started crying. And she was just like, why are you crying? I'm like, I can't trust you because the same voice she told me that you weren't cheating in is the same voice that you were cheating in. And I can't tell the difference now. I'm like, how do I know if I'm not out here busting my behind to pay for this nice, you know, expensive home that while I'm at work, you and old boys up here in my house doing what you do? And she was like, no, I'm not with him anymore. That's not going to happen. I said, but you said for the last year or so that it was over, and we discovered that it wasn't over. So now I don't know how to trust you. So then in October of that year, which was about maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 3.5 months later, I just told her, I said, hey, we need to separate. And let's separate until we figure out what's going on. I'm going to go sleep on the couch. When I close on my new house, I'm going to move out. I want to take the kids with me. And I just told her, once we figure out what's happening and you can get your head out of old boys behind and get it back in the game of this family, we should just be separated. She didn't want that. She didn't want the embarrassment that her husband was leaving her because of an affair that she had. So she figured that if she couldn't be at this house with me, the kids couldn't be here. So needless to say, when that happened, she and her family concocted some huge lie to say that I was beating her and abusing her. I'm stalking her. She had family who worked for the law enforcement, and they all told her what to say on this personal protection order so that she can get it granted ex parte. And for those of you that don't know what that means, ex parte means that if you allege something that requires a personal protection order against someone, it will be granted without the judge or magistrate hearing the other person's side. So when she got that, she got some lead time on me, and that's when she took off with the kids. So she figured that, hey, I'm going to hurt you where it hurts the most, and it's them kids. Leading up to the kidnapping, I would text her 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, like, hey, listen, can you have the kids ready by 7:30 so I can pick them up by 8 o'clock? Oh, my beautiful husband, please come home. Let's be a family. And I'm like, listen, we ain't worked on us yet, but I do want to spend time with my kids. So she would text back maybe 8 o'clock at night. I would call all day, go by the house, nobody's there. Everybody's just gone. And then she'll text me at 8:30 saying, I'll drop the kids off at 8:30 and I'll be back to pick them up at 9 o'clock. And I'm just like, what are you doing? So, that has become this big peeve with me. And this is a message to you guys out there. I don't know if you know women who do this, or if you are a woman who do this, or even a guy who does this. Do not interfere in a relationship between your children and the other parent that you're no longer involved with just because you butt hurt. Them kids ain't got nothing to do with that. Stop putting your kids in the middle of that. Quit alienating your children from a parent just because you're upset that you don't have your way, that they don't want to be with you anymore. When a relationship is over, take that L, get you some counseling, talk to somebody, but leave those kids alone and let them have that relationship with that other parent. So that's what happened. So she took off with the kids. I didn't know for the first 6 months where they were. God did not say one word to me for 6 whole months. And I know people think that's like, wow, so you mean to tell me out of all the stuff that was going on, at some point you heard God and all of a sudden you didn't hear God? Absolutely, because God knows what he's doing. So when people say you don't question what God is doing, it's not that you can't ask God questions. It's just that when you see what God is doing, don't judge what another person is going through and why they're going through it, because you don't know the mind of God and why God is doing that. So I say that to say that after 6 months, I got to a place where I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't consider committing suicide or anything like that, but I wanted to kill some folks because everybody was in on it but me. I didn't know what was going on. But I thank God I couldn't find those folks because I did look for them. I'm just being real with y'all and just being honest. So it got to a point one Sunday morning around 5:30 in the morning, Micah Stampley's song, the Corinthian song came on. And I just cried, man. I cried so much, so deep from inside that I don't know if you ever seen a kid acting a fool in a grocery store, and then their parent hit them on their butt, and the kids start crying, and all of a sudden, their mouth's still open, but they ain't saying nothing. And then all of a sudden, they say something again. And I was crying like that. It was so bad, my dog got up and walked out of my bedroom because she was like, dude, something's wrong. And then I just told God, I said, listen, I don't understand what's going on. You said that all things work together for the good of those who love you, called according to purpose. I may not understand what's going on. I'm just going to trust you. And I found out the next day on a Monday that 3 hours after I prayed that prayer, God caused the fuel pump on my truck to go out. And when the police rode up on that vehicle and ran the plate, it came back stolen. She thought she ran out of gas. When she came back, they arrested her. I got a call from the police department saying your vehicle was recovered. And that is how I found out what country my kids were in. And that's when I started the process of being reunited with my kids. And it wasn't until 2.5 months later that I had seen and heard from my kids for the first time in 3 years.
And so what country were they in?
They were in Canada. Now, most people be like, man, that's just across the water. But you don't understand that Canada is not America. So to give you an idea where they were, if anyone's in Detroit, you drive up to Port Huron, it's about a 45-minute to an hour drive. Then you go across the Blue Water Bridge. So she was 4.5 hours north there. So she's almost 5.5, 6 hours away, deep in Brampton, Ontario, which is further north than Toronto. And you can go up in there and get lost and nobody finds you. So with that being said, she had no intentions to ever be found or to allow me and my children to be together again. So, and also they have what's called the Hague Convention, where they have this court. It's about 3 days long. It's about $30,000 to $40,000, and it's all based to determine whether or not the parent who took off with the child had rightfully taken off with the child and had rightful custody of the children. So she was going to lose that. I still didn't have $32,000 at the time for that trial. And I was listening to, I can't remember Maureen's last name, but Maureen had the song called It Ain't Over Till God Says It's Over. And I said, God, you know what? I don't know how this is going to work out, but somehow you got to make this thing free, or somehow this money got to fall out the sky. And it just dawned on me as I was talking to a police officer about a visitation she didn't show up for. And he said, man, take your kids home. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, look, if they are American citizens and you have a court order showing that you got full custody, take them kids home. And that was my way of escape. So I figured that God made a way of escape out of a $32,000 trial that I didn't have money for, that I potentially could have lost because she got a lot of free legal aid. I had to pay for this stuff, man. I was tapped out. I had a lawyer in Canada. I had one in America. My legal bill at this point is $80,000, and we still ain't hit that other $32,000 for that trial. So what I'm happy about is that when I brought the kids back, I mean, it was the greatest joy. It was a joy to see them for the first time. But when I brought them back, I knew they couldn't go back. I knew at this point that I violated a court order in both countries. I didn't care. I just wanted my kids back because she started withholding them from the weekly visitations that she was ordered to allow the kids to have with me. So I had the FBI involved. Who else? Who was that other group? There was so many legal people involved that she was going to do 10 to 25 years for international child abduction. And I, as a father, could not allow that to happen to my children. Now, since she's been back and the kids have been back, yeah, I paid hell for that because we got a new judge, and this judge just don't care. She just let this woman do whatever she want to do. I show up with all the violations documented, and nothing happens. So to the brothers out there, don't be discouraged. Just keep doing what you're doing. But for me, I just said, hey, listen, I'm tired. Long story short for that, she ended up, even though I would love for her to have done at least 2 or 3 years because she's just ornery, I couldn't see my kids not being with their mom for 10 to 25 years, the same way I knew how much it hurt me to not be with my kids for 3 years. So I had to be the bigger person. I had to be the one to take all the hurt. I had to be the one to be the parent that was basically alienated. Although my kids are starting to come around now, it's not the same. And this woman has psychologically damaged my children because she hates me more than she loves them because of a whole lie that she made up. She made all this stuff up in her head. All of it she made up. That's why the FBI was going to take her to jail. They're like, we see scorned women doing these things all the time. But I didn't want her to go to jail. And the FBI told me, if you can get your kids back before it goes to court, before she's extradited back to the United States, she won't go to jail. So that was her way of escape. And no matter how much I tell her that, no matter how many times I've offered to show her the email from the FBI concerning that, she still thinks, that wasn't true. And I'm like, wow, if I could have gotten you at least 2 of them years, just because you ornery. But again, I think of my kids. And that is the only reason why I didn't put their mom in jail. The only reason why.
Now, you tell us about watching Nemo. Tell us about that.
What happened was a couple years prior to that, we were watching Finding Nemo. You guys probably know Nemo was the orange fish that his daddy had to go all around the world to look for. So me and the kids were watching this, and it was just fun. The graphics was fun, the voices, the comedy, the humor, all of it was good. And I told my kids, and I think my oldest biological child, he said, Daddy, he said that daddy loves his son. He went all the way around the world for his son. I said, yeah. I said, I would do the same thing for y'all. I said, if something ever happened where we were separated, I will comb the edge of the earth until I find you. So, of course, I didn't realize, I don't know if I prophesied this to happen or somehow this was going to happen. And I was just letting my kids know that in the event that it does, and when it does, I'm going to make that happen. So all these years that went by, I think it may have been 3 years, maybe 4 years before the kidnapping, and then 3 years later. So we're talking about 7, maybe 6, 7 years. When I saw my children, and I rented a hotel, and I had the kids with me, and that first night my kids were with me, my son said, Daddy, do you remember when we were watching Finding Nemo, and you said that if for some reason we got separated, that you searched the whole earth to find us? I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, Dad, well, you kept your promise. And I'm glad you found us. And I just broke down crying. That was on a Friday night. I had to leave Sunday. I cried Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because my children said, Daddy, we were hoping that you will find us because it's not good for us over here. So, this is just my life. I wouldn't, if God would have told me, this is the script of your life, that you're going to live on earth, I'd have passed it up. I said, man, make me a bug, a frog, make me something else. Don't make me that Negro that's about to go through all that, man, because that's bad. But the one thing I can honestly say, I had the character of a survivor before any of this happened, even as a kid. So as cocky as some of y'all may think this is, I was built for this. I'm not saying I wanted this. I was built for it. Not to show that, you know what, I'm a beast, I'm bossing up in all of this. No, what it is that when God says that I have something for you and your purpose is divine in me, I have already built you for the task. I didn't understand that when I was going through it, and I'm crying and hurt, trying to figure out what my kids is. I mean, I wasn't good for nothing and nobody. But I was good for God to use, because through all my human efforts, nothing worked until I yielded. And I swear, it seemed like the moment I took my hands off, I'm not big in that song, Jesus Take the Wheel. I think it's cute. But that song went out then. But I literally had to take my hands off and let God do this thing. And the more I kept my hands away, the further back I stayed away from trying to do it my way, God worked it his way. And I'm telling you, I could not have mail ordered a better script if I tried.
And so you said you were built for this. Now that's a great segue to go back to the motorcycle, because I think you must have been built for that.
Well, to be honest with you, if anybody out there who ride bikes, or somebody who ride bikes, I had a couple of Gixxer 1000s, and they were pretty fast back in 2001, 2002. It was like the fastest bike on the road, quarter mile. It beat everybody. Well, in 2009, I had bought myself a motorcycle for my birthday. I bought a Hayabusa. I bought a 1500 series. This was the last day to ride in September. This was, like I said, a month and a half after the kids were gone. I was just upset. And I was sitting on this bridge, Milwaukee and Lodge. I was just sitting on the bridge, and I'm like, you know what, Lord? I don't appreciate how you let this woman take off with my kids, how you let me go through all of this so-called ministry, this so-called Christian life. You can have it. I'm done. So now I'm going to be very particular and specific about what happened after I said that as I was riding home. So I'm riding home, and anybody who's a biker, if somebody on a slower bike pass you up, you don't let them pass you up. You pass them up, and you let them know, no, fool, I'm on a booster. You're not going to beat me. Scott was on the 600. He just blew past me. And, I'm saying to myself, like, man, hold on. You ain't about to beat me on this bike. So as I'm riding the bike, I pass him up on 96. So I'm up on 96. All of a sudden now, I was on the Southfield Freeway, the entrance ramp from from 96 west to Southfield North. And all of a sudden, I felt something warm. And I looked up in the sky, and the sky was gray, but there was a small opening, and the opening was pink. It was like a pinkish, purplish type color. And it kind of freaked me out because I felt something dark come over me. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, no big deal. Let me just keep riding my bike on home. So at this point, I'm doing about maybe 100, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 201. Now I'm doing 201 miles an hour northbound on the Southfield Freeway. Now, this was a Sunday, and what's tripping me out is that on Sunday evening at 6-something in the evening, the Southfield Freeway was just unusually crowded, and I think this actually happened on September 28th, 2009, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe the 27th. Anyway, so I'm riding up the freeway, and I see this car pull in front of me. Now, this car is about a mile ahead of me, but I'm moving at 200 miles an hour, which is the speed of thought. So every thought that I'm having, or complete thought that I had, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to lay the bike down at, because I'm about to have an accident. So the 8-mile exit, they were doing construction on 8 Mile Road in Southfield at the time, so I couldn't go up at the exit because the cars was backed up to the freeway. I tried to swerve through another car, but I couldn't get past the car that I was going to hit because he pulled over on me. Now all of a sudden I get hit. Guy hit me, I blacked out. I blacked out, and I hear the voice of God and said, slide, don't roll. I woke up because I thought I was dreaming. I mean, y'all, I'm telling you, I wish I was lying. Man, I blacked out. I heard that. I woke up, and all I did was tense my body up. And not even a split second later, it was this big boom. I got hit by a compact SUV. Now, I'm already on the ground. Now I get hit. I get rolled over. Not only am I getting rolled over, my helmet is now caught on the gas tank of this compact SUV. And so while I'm moving, I'm being drugged, and my back is about to bend backwards at almost 180 degrees. I'm almost about to snap my spine. I mean, you talking about pain, you talking about, everything that was happening in my head was happening so fast, I didn't have time to process what it was. But then the SUV hit a bump, hit a pothole, and I began to slide. Like this voice told me, just slide, don't roll. So I'm sliding at about 85 miles an hour until I hit a pothole myself. Then I started tumbling and rolling. And this happened for a quarter mile, and I blacked out again. I woke up about 15 minutes later. You know, they recovered my pistol. I'm a concealed pistol license holder, so somebody found my pistol. My iPhone was completely obliterated. My bike was probably about, I don't know, maybe about a quarter mile in front of me because the bike just kept going. Amazingly, the bike kept going. Traffic on the Southfield Freeway was backed up seemingly for 7 miles, coming from as far as Ford Road up to I can't remember the name of that. It's 8.5 mile road. Some of you guys know the name of it. I forget the name of it. And then also for folks who were driving southbound Southfield, because it was so horrific, traffic was backed up from 8.5 mile road going all the way back over to Telegraph. So I'm just giving you an idea how bad this accident looked. So I'm telling him, call my dad. I'm able to give him my dad's number. And then I hear this woman, she's just crying. Oh, Jesus, I saw the whole thing. He's dead. It's just terrible. He's dead. So I'm laying there, and then I'm like, okay, am I dead? Because I'm talking, but it's unbelievable that I'm actually laying on the Southfield Freeway. I see the tires of all the fire trucks, the ambulances, cars were stopped and backed up, glass all over the place. It was crazy. And so then when they were picking me up, I thought my neck may have been broken because I was expecting to be in excruciating pain. I didn't feel anything. So if you've ever seen the race car drivers, you know how they get out of the car after a bad accident. You know, they hold their hand up in the air and everybody start clapping. Well, that's what I did. Some brother on the median, he just yelled out like, yo, is my man all right? Because usually other bikers, if they see another biker in an accident, they're going to pull over to find out what club you ride with so they can find somebody from your fam and have them come check you out and say, yo, man, one of your boys is down, you need to go check him out. But as soon as I raised my hand to let people know that I was still alive, the whole freeway, everybody was just clapping and whistling and shouting. The woman was just praising God. And I'm just like, man, I cannot believe that I just caused such a ruckus. I get to the hospital. They had all the tools to extract organs, to cut bone, because they described the accident as so bad. But I walked away from that accident, not one broken bone. I had some road rash. I was scarred up a little bit, but I'm telling you, I've heard of dudes at 40 miles an hour having their spine snap, dudes at 80 miles an hour being decapitated, but at 200 miles an hour, all I had was some skin rubbed away. I had a pretty good leather on, but at the same time, this was the time that my kids were gone. And I really believe that God was telling me, I'm going to use you for something that you could never imagine and folks would find extremely hard to believe. But if you think I'm lying, I have a copy of the actual EMS report that details the entire accident. I still got the helmet. I still got the leather. I got rid of the bike, but I still have the evidence and some of the scars to show that I was truly in this accident. But this was why this happened the same day I told God, you can have this life. But even when I gave up on what was God's and what God had for me, God's plan was greater. His mercy was greater. It definitely endured that day. If that was forever and a day, that was showing up witnessing his mercy endures forever, because there's no way I should have walked away from that accident whole, without any broken bones. I shouldn't even be alive. But I am for something greater, and that's the bike accident.
And after that,
I'm sure that powered your interpretation about finding.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was like so many things were happening. I mean, man, it's just everything that could go wrong in my life went wrong. Everything, every emotion imaginable to mankind, I felt every last one of them. There isn't a person on this earth right now that I couldn't empathize with, simply because of every emotion that I've experienced. And I didn't experience them emotions for like 5 minutes. Those were emotions that I've experienced every day, 24/7, even while I tried to hold down the job for 6 months, 6 whole months. So again, when I say that I was built for this, I was designed for this, I was. I would not have chosen this if I had any conscious part in any of this. I'd have been like, no, make me a dog, make me a bird or a pigeon. Don't make me that Negro that's about to go through all of that, man, because that is some stuff. But I'm glad I got through it.
Yeah. You also talk about when you were going through that period when you were still trusting people and still buy food in anticipation that they were.
Man, listen here, brother. I think maybe about 5-6 years ago, I have thrown away $4,000 in frozen meat alone. We're not even talking about the canned goods. We're not talking about the milk, popsicles, the desserts, all that stuff. I had envisioned that one day my kids will be back home having supper, breaking bread with their father. I would go, and every week I would change all of the plates and the saucers and bowls and flatware on the dining room table, believing that my kids were going to show up. Some days I had in my gut, oh yeah, my kids be back this week. I would go and spend $300-500 on groceries, anticipating, that my kids will be here, only to be disappointed for 2.5 years. But I just never stopped believing. I mean, regardless, that money, I've gotten 10, 20 times as much as that throughout all that time. I don't miss it. But the act of faith that I displayed, not knowing whether or not my kids were alive, not knowing if they would even know who I was when they see me again, not even knowing that even if they were alive, would I get them back? I just believed that this was not the end. As bad as it seemed, I truly had to walk by faith, because what I was looking at by sight, I was ready to take folk out. But I trusted God. If I was able to just let go and let him do what he was going to do, just like how he did when I listened to Michael Stampley, cried out after 6 months and not hear nothing from him, it's amazing to see that, to have that type of faith. It is remarkable. There isn't anything today that I could ever complain about, not knowing that God has the last word and that God has written the final deed. It's already set. I know that sounds cliche as y'all hear it on Sunday morning, Tuesday Bible study, Wednesday Bible study, whatever. I lived it. So it was not easy. But as time went on, I began to look when problems come up and say, if he did this, surely he can handle that. So when he talks about that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, that testimony was not a biblical testimony. That was mine. I had to become that living epistle to validate God's power and sovereignty in the lives and on this earth by living through all of that. That's why anybody can, if somebody came to me and said, man, I'm going to cut your head off or I'm going to blow your brains out if you confess that God is real and all this Jesus stuff, I'm like, dude, have at it. Have at it. Because at the end of the day, I know that God is real. I ain't got to be religious about that. God is just straight up real. And I'm not saying that just because you didn't have this experience or you didn't have the fortunate or the fortune of having your kids return or your spouse return or a job given back to you, house given back to you, car given back to you. I don't know what your life is, but the same God that has worked for me is the same God historically that has worked for Jacob, Isaac, everybody else. All them fools in the Old Testament, them fools in the New Testament, them fools after the New Testament, the fools y'all dealing with today, and the fool yourself. It is the same God. I was one of those fools, and I seen what he did. So if anyone was to tell me that what I'm saying is not true, they say that's the religion the white man gave you, our ancestors had something greater. I'm like, no, I'm actually the promise fulfilled of my ancestors. And even if the names were changed, even if the narrative was changed, God is still the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, and has made totally good sense out of his word, and I'm going to stick with that.
Let me ask you, what is your relationship like with a child who was the product of this affair? What's your relationship?
When I found out that she was my child, I didn't not stay away from anything like that. I actually sought her out. Our birthdays are 3 days apart. She wanted to go to school as she got older. She wanted to go to school and do nails. So, I got her in school for that, got her set up with financial aid, bought her table to do, mobile manicuring and stuff like that. Any dream that she's had, I've always supported her. She knows that I love her. I had to sit down with her at some point and explain to her that, although you are a child that was born through an adulterous affair, it doesn't mean that I don't love you. But I explained to her, I said, because I didn't know, I told her, I said, you can't hold against me that for all the years that you were alive up until you saw me, that was my fault. I said, sweetheart, your mama didn't know who your daddy was. But once I found out that you were my child, I immediately sought you out so that I could have a relationship with you. So therefore, even though she and I are not as close as my younger daughter and I are, because my youngest daughter, she was always with me. My youngest daughter, I was there when she was born. I videotaped her birth. I've been there with her for the longest. But this child that I had outside of my marriage, I don't treat her any different. She's a little older. She's a little more independent. So therefore, she doesn't need or request a lot of the one-on-one that I have with my other children. However, whenever that girl need me, she'll call or text me, and she know daddy's going to be there for her.
Okay.
No doubt.
Okay. And what would you say the kidnapping
The kidnapping had on who?
on your children?
Mentally, it was devastating. Their mom, fed them a bunch of lies. So for them, they believed a lot of the stuff that she told them. Like, well, I had to bring you guys to this country and not tell you because your daddy was trying to kill me. Or your daddy threatened me, your daddy this, your daddy that. And the kids, they were a little confused because it's like, we don't know daddy to be that kind of person. So when they came back, I was like, you guys, if you want to read the emails, you can see all of this. You can see what the FBI has. They weren't concerned about that because they were a little younger. But as the years went on and their mom still would lie and still try to keep them from me, go against the court-ordered visitations, and she was saying it's for your own good. My kids would get into fights with their half-brother. He shoot him in the foot with a BB gun or whatever happened. I would report that to Child Protective Services. She would lie and tell the kids, if you tell them what happened, mommy's going to go to jail. So my kids always lie for their mom because that's what they were told to do. And even now that they're older, my kids are almost afraid to be themselves because this religious bondage and this lie that their mom has fed them over the years of alienating them from me, my kids have basically lived in a cult. I mean, the way that she's raised my children over the last 7 to 8 years without me, really last 10 years, because it was 2009 when she took them, this is 2019. The last 10 years, my kids have lived almost as though they were in a cult. We were ordered to do therapy as a family. Their mom would take them to the therapist that was not subscribed to us by the court. And they didn't tell me about the therapy sessions because she knew if I was there, all that foolishness was going to come out. So again, this is what she did to protect the lie that she's been telling. As they've gotten older throughout the years, I recognize that some of the children's problems are genetically related. One of my twins he learns a little slower than most of the other kids. I just think he learns differently. But he's so much like his mom that I really believe that their mom has a mental issue. I began to reflect on conversations that we had, and she talked about how when she was a little girl, she used to talk to dolls, and she would tell people that, oh, this doll is alive, this doll told me this, or this person said that, don't you see him over there talking? Her family thought she was crazy. And they even had her psychologically evaluated. But again, that wasn't something that was disclosed to me prior to being married, which is why I advise against getting married when you're young like that, and then getting married without putting in some time to know who the person is. I mean, had I learned all this foolishness, man, I would have married that woman, and we waited till we was married to have sex. So, I wouldn't miss none anyway. So I would not have married this woman had I known that this is how she was as a child and had not gotten healed from that, had not gotten any help or any type of professional counseling, but just left to her own self and her own thought patterns. This is what happened. Now, I'm not saying that I did marry her because I said I do. I'm the one that said, yeah, we can do this. We both decided, we both said we came up with the same date, and after 6 months, we did it. But one of the things I want to stress here real quickly, it's just that with all of that being said, my oldest son, he really doesn't want to have a whole lot to do with me. He won't tell me, but he shows me more than anything. The twins right now, they're actually upstairs, just enjoying themselves, trying to get a hold of this new freedom that they have in their father. My youngest daughter, she was just in Texas for about 3 weeks with some family and friends of mine to really help her navigate what it's like to be a young woman. And my youngest son turned 16 today, but he likes to please both mommy and daddy, but he'll please mommy at the expense of daddy. So I wanted to go up to his job, give him a couple $100 and hang out with him for about an hour or so. Come to find out he didn't even go to work. He doesn't even have his phone turned on. So I have no way of even reaching him. So if my sons, my daughter, had not been told the things that they've been told, or at least she told the truth and said, I told y'all this just because of where I was mentally, how I felt emotionally. I felt my world came to an end when your daddy left. I felt embarrassed about being discovered with my affair. If she would have just told the kids the truth, as a good husband, even a good ex-husband, I would cover her entire, just this whole reign of sin by saying, I got you. And I don't care what the world thinks about you and what you've done. I love you. I could never hate you because I truly loved you. And I believe that no one can truly hate somebody that they truly loved. So although she hates me more than she loves the kids, the reality is I still love my kids. I have a love for her. I don't desire to be back with her. She's married and got another kid. I mean, hey, God bless you, do what you want to do. But this woman lives a lie, and she lives the lie that she tells herself. She believes it so much so to be true, she doesn't realize the damage that she's doing and the damage that has happened to my kids. So at some point, maybe in the next 5 years, I'm hoping that my kids will get to a point of understanding that, you know what, Daddy, something is really wrong. I'm getting in relationships. It's not working out. I'm finding myself loving folks. They don't love me a certain way. And it's like, yeah, I told you, you are going to be dating on your deficiency until you're healed. So until you heal, best thing for you to do is just have friends, have associates, but don't get serious until you get serious about your own healing. So it's going to be a while before my kids really come into that healing. But this woman has done so much damage in the name of, I'm going to hurt your father, that she is literally destroying my children.
And how old are your children? What are their ages?
My oldest son is 23. My oldest daughter's 22. My youngest daughter's 21. The twins are 18. And my youngest son turned 16 today. 4 boys, 2 girls.
Yeah. Some time halfway to being healed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I kind of think I'm understanding what companies understand the depth of your relationship with their mother. So not so great.
do you have a
future hope for a better relationship or interaction?
She's a person who believes that if I tell a lie, I got to take it to the grave. I think that at some point we'll never have that relationship, and it's her choice. It's not mine. When I found out that she was pregnant, I took $250. I bought baby wipes, diapers, formula, bibs, clothes, all the stuff with a card that said, I never hated you. And if having this child with this new boyfriend of yours that you got makes you happy, by all means. I know what it's like to have newborn children. I had at least 5 of them with you. So here's my gift to you and your newborn child. She still don't believe I'm the one that gave her that gift. My kid said, Mommy, this is from Daddy. And she think that my dad gave it to her. My dad didn't give her nothing. But even though I've done things to be nice, I've even gone, we've had family breakfast, we've had go-kart outings, just to say, hey, I don't hate your mom, guys. Even though we're not going to be together, I just want you guys to know that it is okay and it is safe to love me in the presence of your mom. But their mom would take their phones, so they couldn't call me. When she skipped out on the visitations, she'd tell them, don't answer the phone. One time, I didn't go to court, but I submitted a letter so that I wouldn't go to jail for a child support hearing. She found out that the bench warrant was issued. She called the police department where we exchanged the kids and said, hey, he'll be there at 7 o'clock today. I'm faxing over the warrant now. And when he gets there at 7 p.m., you can lock him up. On the weekend that I was supposed to get my kids. That's how low down and dirty she is. I won't say she was, because she's still like that. But at the end of the day, when the Bible tells you to pray for your enemies, man, let me tell you something. It is hard sometimes to form my lips to pray in love for somebody who just constantly do things to get under my skin. Y'all know what it's like 12 years of this foolishness. But at the same time, God is able. So yeah, I do pray for her.
Yeah.
But I don't I know for a fact that until she changes, we will never have a relationship where we can be responsible co-parents. She feels she wants to do it on her own. She feels she knows it's hurting me to have a relationship or to not have a relationship with my children in the way that I feel I should. So she's going to continue doing it. But that's why you see me on Facebook with my daughter. Every time I'm with my kids, I'm always doing something with them, making memories. I post my children. I let my kids know. I will brag to the world my love for you, not to let the world think that I'm such a great dad, but so that you will know that you have a great dad who loves you.
Yeah. And before I let you go, I really make that on the show. What would you say is your greatest lesson that you learned from this whole situation?
I would say my greatest lesson is be honest with yourself. If you're not ready to be married, you're not ready to love somebody, if you know that you're not going to be honest and upfront, stay out of a relationship. Don't believe that just because you're trying to create a narrative on how you're going to shuck and jive and do wrong and hope that when you walk away, the other person will have the feelings of not caring and not feeling hurt because you don't feel them. And then at the end of the day, you don't realize that whatever it is that they're dealing with, you could trigger them to react and respond in such a manner that you may not be as fortunate as me to live through it, just to have my kids taken, but somebody could take your life because they feel that you're playing with their head. And although that wasn't the case with her, my biggest lesson is that put yourself in other people's shoes. That what would Jesus do is, I guess, critical for anybody who wants to know what would Jesus do in a situation. Ask yourself, how would I feel if somebody did this to me the same way I plan on doing it to this person? And if you're honest with yourself and you know that that's going to hurt you, let that be your lesson to not do it. And thank God that you were able to turn away and do the right thing in spite of having to give up what you thought was a good thing, because God is going to give you a better thing. A better you and a clean heart.
Thank you, Modeira. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you for coming on. Modeira Johnson. I'm sure there is. Is there a book coming? This really could be on the silver screen.
There's a book coming. There's going to be three parts to the book. One that talks about the emotional roller coaster and everything that I've gone through. The other book will be why did it happen to me and what did I learn out of it. The last book will be all that is happening with the kids and what I really would like to see happen. And then I'm also talking with some folks now to see if we can get a small video documentary put together that kind of highlights it, kind of like a movie, but not necessarily a movie, but I'm also narrating and talking about everything that happened. And I'm hoping that we can talk with some lawmakers and get something done in family court where if there are children between two parents who don't get along, that they have to be in court within 3 to 5 days so that way they can mediate who these kids are going to be with and establish visitation so that you don't end up with a situation like what I went through. And I believe that's also part of the reason I went through it, because it's a law that doesn't exist. And I'm hoping that my story and what happened with me and my children could be the catalyst to getting this law on the books.
Thank you, Modeira Johnson. I appreciate having you on. We're going to have you back on and keep us posted on how these books develop.
I sure will, man. Thanks for having me on, you guys. I'm on Facebook. You can go to Modeira Johnson, Believer, and you can watch the video for yourself. Make sure you like it, share it with your friends. There's going to be some great things that come out of this. I will be asking you guys at some point as I'm writing the book what you think about certain things, because I'll be able to say, this is the mindset most people had, but this is the mindset that I had. And so your input will be truly valued. I thank you guys for being a part of today's broadcast with me. Thank you for listening. God bless you. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
What a story. What a real life story. Modeira Johnson, I'm telling you, I think it's silver screen. I don't know about you, to have experienced the kidnapping of your children, surviving a motorcycle accident where you virtually walk away without serious injury. Not only is God ordaining Modeira's life, but God is orchestrating your life and mine. I hope you see that in the story, that even though we can throw up our hands and say we're done with the situation, God's love is without limit, which means he's prepared for anything that circumstance could bring to your life, and he's prepared to bring you through any circumstance in your life. What an awesome story. I hope that though it has been a lengthy love and stuff, that you will share this content, that you will help us to reach our 1,000 views, our 60 shares, that you will also follow our page so that we can get to 20,000 followers, and that you will also check out Modeira Johnson's page and watch the YouTube video. You'll be able to find the YouTube video there, I'm sure, because I think it will awaken you to a number of things. When you love somebody, you will love without limits. But you need to understand the consequences of loving someone who isn't capable of loving you back in the way that you've envisioned love to be. We all don't see love to be the same thing. Our experience of what love is, or how it expresses itself, how it manifests, is not the same thing. We're on a pursuit of love. And as you pursue love, there are signs that people will show you about how you're loving them. Modeira seems to accept his role in the infidelity in his relationship, and I'm not sure whether or not his wife, from his version of the story, did or didn't. But there were signs. And sometimes when we're busy being about the love of loving somebody, we're not paying attention to the signs that are telling us of their inability to love us in a way that cherishes who we are and nourishes who we are. But that doesn't stop your love. It should reinforce your love, especially for self. Because there are people that are just trying at loving you, and you are perfecting loving you. As a matter of fact, it is our mission to perfect self-love so that we can more appropriately love others. I want to thank Modeira and all of those that stood in the gap in between while we were trying to get through the technical difficulties. Again, I hope that you will support Love and Stuff by sharing our content with 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends. I hope that you will stop by the Love and Stuff page and click follow, and join Sonia, Sharice, myself, and others as we walk out this gratefulness journey by 3 things you're grateful for every day, and 3 things that you will repeat to yourself in gratefulness every day. I keep seeing my good friend Julie Stewart trying to come in. 3 things that you will repeat to yourself and share with others. Do that for 30 days, and you will crowd out all of the negativity, which is what we should be about, crowding out the negativity, because it's surely trying to present itself in our lives. I see my good friend Alicia Bradford coming in. Couldn't have been better timing. Crowd out the negativity that's trying to come into your life, and all of the goodness and gratefulness that you deserve, that you are so worthy of. May it find good space in your life. May it choke out all the negative that is trying to invade your space. And we can help to power that by having moments of gratitude and gratefulness every day. Join us on our 30-day gratitude, gratefulness journey. Sonia Sharice is on her day 3. What day number are you on? What are you grateful for? Start your day off with 3 things that you're grateful for. Say them aloud as affirmations to yourself 3 times and share them with 3 people. And do that over the course of 30 days and watch how negativity is crowded, choked out literally, out of your life. I'm Marcus Holmes. You can purchase our Love and Stuff gear if you haven't already. Go to our Love and Stuff page. We would love to hear from you. Inbox us there or here at Marcus R. Holmes with your feedback about the show. We know tonight was a lengthy show, so you might go through it a little faster, but we need you to share it so we can get the view.